powerful word. And every day you're faced with 1,000 decisions. That choice defines what your purpose is. So making the right decisions for you and your purpose, your business, your family life, your goals, every day you're faced with those decisions. So make sure you're making the right decisions. And to become a leader, you need to be the best servant that you can be. Hello, Empower Nation. Welcome to Empower Her Money Podcast. I'm your host, Angela Duncan, and we talk all things money and business. Today's episode is sponsored by morewithangela.com, morewithangela.com, where we are bringing private passive investments from the wealthy to you. Keep more, make more, live more. Visit morewithangela.com today. Schedule your call with me personally and let me help you grow your wealth and earn passive income. Today's episode, I am going to do a recap of GrowthCon 2024, the 9th year with Grant Cardone, my mentor, an incredible 3 days, 3 nights of networking, speakers, and incredible information. And I just want to do a share my quote list with you. These are quotes and ideas that I wrote down from each of the speakers that I want to share with you. And I challenge you not just to listen to this podcast, but I want you to take action. So when you hear something, write it down and make sure that you're implementing and taking action on it. So let's dive right in. The first speaker was Tucker Carlson, and I knew of him. I don't watch the news, and so I don't follow a lot of what the political environment or news stations have, but I thought he was interesting, and I want to share some notes that I got from him. He wants you to change this. It's no longer called the law of attraction, but we're going to call it the law of action. So not attracting, but you personally taking action in your life. I know who I am. I don't need someone else to tell me. So when they're talking about the haters out there, if you know who you are personally, you can't listen to the haters because they actually don't know who you are. So when you know yourself, but you also need to remember that you are not the center of the universe. In my world, God is the center of my universe. So I thought that was a great quote. And to never lie, because people follow strength, and to rid yourself of any deception. So I liked that, just coming from a moment of truth, right? Second speaker was John Maxwell. Can't believe he has written over 90 books. That's incredible. And he's also a faith-driven man. So we're going to go through his 7 steps of mentorship. First, he went over the importance of having a mentor, that growth is not automatic, that getting older is automatic, but getting better is intentional. You need to determine the areas in which you want to be mentored in, and he used an acronym CLEAR. Communication, leadership, equipment, like your teams, attitude, and relationships, figuring out which one of those that you need the most help in. You also need to be the right person. You need to be coachable and hungry in order for you to have a mentor that's going to work in your life. You have to do what they did in order to enjoy what they're doing. Number 5 is to pick the right person, the right coach, the right mentor. I talk a lot about this on my podcast, making sure that any area of your life that you want to expand on, you want to have the right mentor and coach for you. Number 6, you got to get yourself out of the people pile. There's tons of podcasters out there. So how am I differentiating myself from the other podcasters? That's what I wrote down. What can I do to separate myself from the others that are in the same space? That's really important. And number 7 is to have clear expectations up front. What is it that your mentor is going to help you with? What is it that you expect from the mentor, so that you both can be on the same page and understand what that partnership is going to look like? Day 2, Mike Tyson, third speaker. Quite interesting, actually. So some of the things that I wrote down from Mike is that you can be undefeated, but not be the best, which I thought was very interesting, because he was undefeated for a long time, but he didn't view himself, and he knew he was not the best boxer in the industry. He also said, not everyone who helps you is a friend. Not everyone you fight is an enemy. So I thought that was a great quote, and I wrote that down. Day 2, first speaker up was Don Peebles, someone else. Again, I didn't know who he was going into this. So I love the opportunity to meet new people, to hear their experience and their journey, and then to listen to the ideas of what they are teaching. So every setback is an opportunity in disguise, and it matters how many times you get back up. I think we've heard that in a variation of different ways. He was talking about private equity. That's what I do. So private equity is the dominant right now, that banks are no longer the dominant. And when it comes to lending, and also private credit is also the dominant, we'll continue to see the trend go that way. Keep away from investing opportunities. Actually, he said that the average person is not afforded the opportunity to invest in most opportunities, which I believe is true because the system is not designed to be fair, right? So when we say, oh, well, that's not fair, it's because it's not designed to be that way. So having an expectation that it's fair is not the right expectation. And the only time to buy a personal home is when it's cheaper to buy than to rent, which I think we see in Miami right now. Incredible that you can rent a home and that the trend is renting over buying because it is less expensive oftentimes, especially in our condo market with the HOA insurance and taxes, less expensive to rent than to buy. Ray Lewis, day 2, another person I've not heard speak before. I know of him from the football world, so it was interesting to hear some of his information that he was providing. One of the quotes I wrote down was the underestimated community. So instead of calling communities like poverty or, Section 8 housing welfare communities as underdeveloped or any other word, underestimated was a very powerful word. And every day you're faced with 1,000 decisions. That choice defines what your purpose is. So making the right decisions for you and your purpose, your business, your family life, your goals, every day you're faced with those decisions. So make sure you're making the right decisions. And to become a leader, you need to be the best servant that you can be, which I absolutely agree with. Michael Chandler, UFC, day 2, also first time meeting him, and I had the opportunity to talk with him a little bit backstage, which was awesome. Love his personality, and I love his devotion to God too. So he says, when you're negotiating your contract, and I think this is true in personal and business life, but you've got to leave a little meat on the bone. You make it a win-win situation. Don't overvalue yourself, but perhaps ask for, what you're negotiating and then provide so much more value that gives you leverage. And the next time you're negotiating a contract with that same party or with any other party for what you do in your career. And he believes that he was created for so much more. And he advises you to be brilliant in the basics, which I love that as well. Tim Grover, oh my goodness, day 3 to start the day. This one hit home. I will tell you why here shortly. But his speech and his interview was just incredible. If you have not checked out Tim Grover, he's also a best-selling author. He coached Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, and it just was life-changing for me on this last day of the conference. He talks about celebrating your own success, that we don't celebrate our own success enough. Clap for yourself and be your own cheerleader. Be committed to individuals. Let me change that. Committed individuals attract committed individuals. So like-minded attracts like-minded. So when you're fully committed to your mission, to your business, to your family, to your goals, you're going to attract others that are just as committed. And that is where the growth occurs. Love that. Stop saying the word try. Previous coach of mine, Bob Corcoran, used to tell us we can't say that word try. And it's true, because when you say you're going to try something, you're essentially giving your brain an out. Like, you might fail, so I'm just trying. So to take that word out of your vocabulary. You will never find a hater doing more than you. Loved that. So when you talk about, people who are naysayers, perhaps they're jealous, but they're just not in the place where you are. They're not on the growth trajectory that you are. So they're not people that are doing more than you. It goes back to understanding who you are and knowing that those haters have no clue who you truly are. You cannot listen to them. You don't find balance in life. You have to create it, and it's going to be different for every single person. And I've asked this question on my podcast a few times, like, how do you balance it all? Well, it's different for each individual, and I understand that, but I like to hear the different responses from the women that I interview on Empower Her Money podcast. So you don't find balance, you create it. Day 3 was also Marissa Straret, the only female speaker. Grant Cardone besides Elena and his 2 daughters, which are awesome because he's helping them to grow, his 2 young daughters. But Marissa Straret was the only female speaker. She was interviewed by Elena Cardone, and she talked about that you need to be emotionally strong. These are her 3 things for success. Emotionally strong. You can't afford to be fragile or offended, especially as a female. That you need to be physically strong. You need to take care of your health and your body in order for you to be the most successful version of you. You also need to be spiritually strong, which for me is my faith in God, and I've given my life to God and like live in his journey, in his presence every day. But life is tough. And so you have to wear a helmet. Just know that your helmet is there and life is going to be tough and you're just going to roll through whatever the challenges are in front of you. But those 3 things, emotionally, physically, and spiritually strong, must exist in order for you to have true success in your life. So that was day 3 with Marissa. Also on day 3 was Peyton Manning. When I was married, my ex-husband loved watching Peyton, so I've watched him play football for many, many years, and he's just hilarious. And I love how jovial he is, and it could definitely shine through for day 3 for his interview with Grant Cardone. Talked about leadership. When your leader is calm, the team will be calm. And that was his way of approaching being quarterback and leading of his team. We all have an obligation to mentor and pay it forward. Exactly why I wanted to do this podcast is because I have been studying money for 20 plus years, and it's my responsibility to give back to my community, make sure that you are on your money journey and teaching you from many stories of incredible people that I've had the chance to interview. A contract. He's talking about his contract, when he signed a contract as a quarterback with the team and said the contract is not an award, it's a payment for future performance. So when he signs a contract, he knows that he has to earn that money, that contract wasn't awarded to him because of what he's done in the past, but what he's going to commit to and do in the future. And I think that's an amazing analogy, especially for business owners. When you get a new client who signs up and pays, it's not because of what you've done in the past, but what you're going to provide to them in the future. I think that was really key. And our final speaker on day 3 was none other than Arnold Schwarzenegger. Wow, he was quite powerful, to hear his story and where he came from and how many things he has accomplished along the way. I thought his story was incredible. I didn't know the entire backstory behind him. I know him as the bodybuilder and actor and, governor of California. So I grew up in San Diego, but he was very interesting to listen to. And I thought that was incredible. So have a clear vision of your goal. I am the person that puts the goals up on the board. It works for me. So that's my clear vision. Work your ass off. Loved that. And I've heard that from people from like Will Smith, who says no one will ever outwork him. That's the mentality that he has. Arnold, very similar with the work your ass off. And stay a kid. Get excited about the little things. I loved this analogy because he talked about like cars, right? Like little boys in their cars and how excited they got. And somehow along the way, we're either told to be quiet or we lose that childlike excitement to live in that every day and make that part of your adult life. That was an incredible message. I like that. Put in the reps. I've heard that one before, but yeah, it's just, if you want to be great at something, you need to put in the reps, put in the time. And don't pick small dreams. When you go big, you're going to accomplish them. So why would you pick small dreams? Talks about losers stay down and winners get up. Every day, how can I be better? Every single day. So hopefully you enjoyed that quick synopsis of GrowthCon 9 2024 with Grant Cardone, my mentor. And yes, what happened at the very end, it just warms my heart. So I've got to share it with you, right? So Grant Cardone's inviting people to come up on stage that have traveled to the US to this growth conference to find out how far did you travel from? And I think the furthest distance flight time was Australia. So people from all over the world, South America, South from Asia, from Europe, from Africa, and all of these incredible people. And then what happens? This woman that I met on day 2, Anna Suarez, powerful woman. And I'm so happy I got to be in her presence. But her fiance called her up on stage. He came from Serbia and he's like, I wouldn't be here without this woman. Honey, come up on stage. And right in front of all of us, for all of 5,000 of us to share, and all the people online that were watching, hopefully he proposed to her. And it was just an incredible story. So I wish them both the best of luck. And it just goes to show, when you put yourself in the right rooms with the right people, you have no idea the potential and the opportunities, but build those relationships, listen to what they have to say and teach, implement, and take action in your own life. This is Angela Duncan signing off for Empower Her Money Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this podcast. If you have money questions, send me a message. I will personally respond, and I look forward to teaching you more in the future. Thank you so much for tuning into Empower Her Money Podcast. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast, and leave a review wherever you are tuning in.